The invention of the airplane in 1903 was the result of the brilliant minds of Wilbur and Orville Wright. The airplane is used in a wide variety of applications, and for humankind, this innovation represented a significant frontier. The airplane reduces war to the click of a button rather than the human struggle it had previously been. Planes also help deliver life-saving supplies to communities that would otherwise be inaccessible. The development of the airplane altered the course of history and deeply influenced modern society.
Wilbur and Orville grew up together and moved around frequently. Orville later stated about their childhood, "There was much encouragement to pursue intellectual interests. This nurturing environment, along with their unique technical gifts, led the brothers to love inventing and creating new things. As kids, the brothers read of German glider pioneer Otto Lilienthal and were fascinated with his work. But it was in the learning of Lilienthal's death in a glider crash during August of 1896 that sparked their further pursuit of aeronautics. Later in life, Orville and Wilbur went into the printing business and developed a local reputation for the superior quality of printing presses that they designed and sold. These presses were one of the first signs of the brothers' astonishing technical abilities. Later in 1892, the brothers started a bicycle repair shop. They began manufacturing their own bicycles as well as other inventions. The profits that they were bringing in from this printing business and the bicycle shop helped fund their experiments with flight.
During their work with bicycles, the brothers learned a lot about making intricate machines with lightweight materials. They also learned how to effectively analyze a mechanical problem and move towards a working solution. From what they had learned in the bicycle business, the brothers thought it was best to place complete control of the plane in the hands of the pilot. This led to them creating a revolutionary design that gave the wings of their plane the ability to twist, so the pilot could move the wings in different directions, causing the plane to climb, dive, or bank in any direction. After testing with a miniature model, they moved on to designing the real thing. With data collected by Lilienthal, the brothers were able to calculate the amount of wing surface area that would be needed to lift the estimated weight of the machine and pilot. The brothers realized that Dayton, Ohio was not the ideal place to conduct their aeronautical experiments because of its low wind speeds and flat terrain. Instead, the Wrights obtained a list of more suitable areas from the U.S. Weather Bureau. They chose to conduct their tests at Kitty Hawk on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It offered high average wind speeds, tall sand dunes to glide from, as well as soft sand for their landings. At Kitty Hawk, they set up camp at the base of Kill Devil Hills to conduct tests for their plane. The brothers realized that there were major problems with the aerodynamics of their first design, so they went back to Ohio to fix it. Through hard work and determination, they overcame the many problems with their design through a number of modifications. With their problems behind them, they were finally able to add propellers to the plane so it could sustain flight through the air.
With years of planning, testing, and design modifications behind them, the brothers had finally created a plane they thought could fly. They set out once more to Kill Devil Hills on December 17, 1903, and prepared for takeoff. Wind speeds reached up to 20 miles per hour, and the brothers were hopeful. Orville took the controls while Wilbur ran alongside the plane to steady it. The first flight lasted 12 seconds and flew 120 feet. The brothers took 4 more flights throughout the day, with the longest being 279-meter flight piloted by Wilbur. All of the flights were at an altitude of about 10 feet off the ground and lasted 12 to 30 seconds. It was at this time in history that a heavier-than-air machine had demonstrated sustained and powered flight under the complete control of the pilot.
Sustained flight was a revolutionary achievement that would change the world forever almost instantaneously. On May 22, 1906, the United States granted patent number 821,393 for a flying machine to Wilbur and Orville Wright. Despite the remarkable nature of this machine, it was not recognized in more than a few local papers. It was during World War I that the U.S. discovered the true potential of the airplane and how it led directly to the creation of a new frontier in everything from war to the basic delivery of goods. At this time, the concept of the airplane was expanded upon by inventors across America, with everyone building on the original concept with their own unique parts and ideas.
Now, from an interview with Scott Lederman, a professor at the University of Minnesota Duluth.
The idea of the airplane, I think, captivated people's imaginations around the world, and people wanted to be able to participate in, this new technological development.
These combined efforts led to the creation of the somewhat modern Junker F-13 plane. This was the first all-metal transport plane, which almost all commercial planes that we know today were built off this original design. By 1907, the Army Signal Corps was preparing for flight, despite some uncertainty about how they would actually do it. The United States government created an aeronautical division that had three first lieutenants, all working in the new military branch. 2 years later, on August 2nd, 1909, the military started its big aviation journey when the Wright brothers gave their first plane to the Signal Corps. By July of 1909, one of the first lieutenants from this aeronautical division, along with Orville Wright, took the plane for a final test. It was a major success. 3 days later, the model for the planes belonged to the United States military. The Army paid $30,000 for the plane. It was given the name Signal Corps No. 1, what was generally known as the Wright Military Flyer. This was the conception of the United States Air Force, which has gone on to have a major impact on the world at large.
10 years after the invention of the airplane, World War I broke out and airplanes began to be used in war. In the beginning, they played minor roles for reconnaissance and small bombing campaigns, but the attitude around planes had gone from an astounding invention that enabled humans to achieve flight to a tool that brought about mass death and destruction.
Now, another clip from Scott Laderman.
By having now people use planes as weapons of war, it's depersonalized warfare in ways that makes it easier for people to kill other people. It's one thing, to have to engage in hand-to-hand combat with someone. The very human consequences of what you're doing are real. You see that when you're in a plane at 30,000 feet and you press a button that drops a bomb. You don't get that same emotional impact that you would, and it may be easier to kill people than from that sort of distance. So
World War II, aviation played an even bigger role than before. Having air superiority was beyond important to win battles. Mass bombings of cities and air skirmishes were common. The fact that the Allied forces had air superiority was one of the major reasons they won the war. As the importance of planes grew, so did the fear that surrounded them. Bombings were so common that when people saw a plane flying overhead, they would run for cover. This fear was especially felt by German civilians, of whom the U.S. had killed around 700,000 in their bombing campaigns. After World War II had come to an end and the Cold War had just started, World War II had left Germany in total ruin, and Russia occupied about a third of Germany's total land. In the middle of the Soviet-occupied zone was Berlin, the capital that was occupied by the Allies. The Soviets blockaded all road, rail, and water routes into Berlin's Allied-controlled areas, stifling the vital flow of food, coal, and other supplies. The Soviets were going to wait until the people starved, and there would be little the Allies could do about it. The Soviets couldn't block Allied airspace, though. As a solution, the U.S. started the Berlin Airlift, the biggest aerial resupply mission ever to be embarked upon. On Easter Sunday, April 17, 1949, a constant procession of planes delivered 13,000 tons of much-needed food, fuel, and medicine to Berlin. Since then, the plane has continued to be used in humanitarian efforts around the world.
Near the end of the Vietnam War, the United States used its aircraft carriers to help the people of South Vietnam. The United States Navy would take in refugees and transport them to refugee camps in America while supplying them with food and hot water. Today, the most common use for aircraft carriers is to supply and help with hurricane rescues. People in the Caribbean are often rescued from hurricanes by helicopters via aircraft carriers. This, however, is just a tiny fraction of what this new frontier has allowed humans to do.
Orville Wright's invention has both changed the world for the better and created a major dilemma, as airplanes can be used to bomb out cities and kill hundreds of thousands. Yet at the same time, they can deliver vital supplies such as food and medicine to communities in need across the globe. The plane has changed war, travel, tourism, and our economy. Use of the plane has deeply affected human life, our cultures, and the way that we view the world. Some places that seemed unreachable in a lifetime before are now accessible in less than a day. This has boosted the world forward into a new modernized frontier for all.